It was 1,400 Paul Bunyan's, just going around in this thing. I'm Clay Walker, a country music singer, rancher. Got a couple different properties, one in Texas where we are today and one in Tennessee. And to me it's real important to maintain vegetation, especially on large acreages, because it can overgrow real quick. And if you get behind the 8 ball on vegetation, it can just take over and you end up needing a dozer and some heavy equipment operators to come in and take care of it. But if you manage it, like I've been able to do with the ground shark, you can run cattle on it. You can basically do whatever you need to do. I grew up on a farm / ranch my whole life, and we had tractors, bush hogs, nothing fancy. But as I had some success in the music business, I was able to buy different pieces of equipment, bat wings, but they were limited. When you run over heavy brush or even smaller trees with a cutter, you can feel it, doing the damage or the wear and tear that it puts onto that piece of equipment. With the ground shark, what impressed me the most was as I attacked the brush or the trees, I couldn't believe the diameter, the size of the calipers of these trees that I was able to go in and just hit and just demolish immediately and just mulch it out. I couldn't believe what it could handle. That was the most impressive thing. It was so much different than running a cutter over the top of something being pulled by a tractor. The amount of pressure, that hydraulic pressure that you get with the skid steer, and plus the implement works with just about any skid steer. The most impressive thing is to look underneath this implement and see the carbide teeth that are on there for stump grinding, and then see what I call the axe blade. It was 1,400 Paul Bunyan's, just going around, and you lay this thing on top of whatever you knock it down, and then you just eat it up. It just mulches it all out. You can see that it's a heavy-duty, slick, sexy machine. But when you raise this thing up and look what's under the hood, it is like, OMG, it's on. The #1 factor for me purchasing the ground shark was the safety. I didn't grow up operating big pieces of equipment. I grew up on a tractor. So the first time that I hooked up to the ground shark, I wanted to see what the tipping weight felt like. No problem. As fast as these blades turn and as heavy as they are, that can be very intimidating. But once I started cutting, I realized how safe it was. And with the ability to raise it, you can go in on something and you can cut it and it falls away from you. That was the greatest feeling and the greatest safety to me. Was I didn't feel like that trees were going to fall on me or that brush was going to fly up underneath of it and come back into the skid steer. This shield right here, as you approach a tree or brush or whatever, the first thing to come in contact with it is this shield. And then it kind of opens up, as you can see, like a mouth of a shark going for it. And then you have this push bar right here that's going to push the tree or brush away from the operator as these blades come in contact with it. And these sides right here gather, they'll gather more material into and push up into this cutting action. And after you back away, this shield falls back in place. So I can't say enough things about the safety of it, first and foremost, but the power and the strength that you can't put this thing up against something it can't handle. I really thought I was going to have to take it slow and just kind of let the machine catch up, if you will, to the work that you're giving it. It's difficult to bog this thing down. Not being a professional operator, it was one of my concerns, is how would I be able to handle this thing with the skid steer. And to be honest, a few safety lessons in a skid steer, and I think you're fine with this. It's not a big learning curve. It's not hard to hook up. It's not hard to start. But I think that most guys like me get an adrenaline rush from being in a machine like that and being able to look back behind you and look around you and see the work that you've accomplished in such a short period of time. It's cost effective meaning that you're going to get a whole lot more out of the machine than what you're paying for it. And I've seen some of the other more expensive implements that can't do half the work this thing can do. The biggest problem on our ranch is who gets to run this thing. Who's going to be on the ground and who gets to run it. Our ranch foreman, Tommy, he loves this thing too. But I'm like, man, when this attachment goes on, I'm getting in the cab. You're getting on the ground because I'm not going to let anybody have that much fun with me standing there watching. There's a couple of applications for me that really matter. One is being able to manage the brush and vegetation around our houses and barns and fence lines. The other one though is I'm a deer hunter. So being out here, for example, in Mineola, there's places where you need to cut cinderas and be able to see up in these thickets, something that I was able to do in 1 hour's time. In the lower bottom, and haven't really mowed down there in 4 years. So the vegetation really got heavy, and I needed something. I'd considered a dozer, I'd considered other cutters, and this was brought to my attention by a buddy of mine. He said, "You've never seen anything like this ground shark." The YouTube video did not do it justice. I can just tell you that the YouTube video is impressive, but when you get in this machine and see what it can do, you just can't put a price tag on it. Well, I have no regrets. I mean, this is seriously my favorite thing on the ranch right now. Every time that I use it, I feel a little bit better about it. There's not many things that I could say that would come close to the feeling that I get when I'm in the cab and when I'm doing the work and spinning that skid steer around and looking at what you just went over the top of is the greatest feeling.